Why do you keep having the same arguments in your marriage? Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my podcast. Let's talk about something almost every married couple experiences at some point. You have the same argument again and again. Sometimes it's about money. Sometimes it's about homework. Sometimes it's about parenting. Sometimes it's about in-laws. And sometimes it's about intimacy. But the frustrating part is this. You've already talked about it before many times. Sounds familiar? You might even say to yourself, how are we still fighting about this? So one spouse feels unheard, the other spouse feels blamed. And suddenly what started as a small issue turns into a big emotional conflict. Now, if that sounds familiar, you're experiencing one of the most common things that couples experience. And the question I often hear as a couple therapist is, why do we keep fighting about the same thing? So let me help today to help understand why this happens and, more importantly, what you can do about it. Hi, my name is Marvel Adeyemi. I'm a psychotherapist and a couple counselor. So the reason the argument keeps happening is most couples think they're arguing about a topic, but usually the topic is not the real problem. Let me give you an example. A couple argues about the dishes. The wife says, "You never help around the house." The husband replies, "I work all day. Why are you attacking me?" Now, it looks like the argument is about dishes. But underneath that argument are two deeper emotional experiences. The wife is feeling overwhelmed and unsupported. Now, and the husband is feeling criticized and unappreciated. You see that? So the real argument is not about dishes. The real argument is about feeling valued and feeling respected. So this is why the same argument keeps repeating itself. On the surface, the issue may change, but the emotional wound underneath never seems to get resolved. Now, most couples unknowingly fall into a repeating cycle. It usually looks like something like this. One partner raises a concern, the other partner becomes defensive. Now, the wife, for example, may feel unheard and then raise her voice. The husband will withdraw and shut down. Now, both people feel hurt, and the original issue never gets resolved. The next time something similar happens, the emotional intensity returns with so much immediately because the previous conflict was not fully resolved. And over time, couples begin to say things like, "We can't talk without arguing," "We're just roommates now," or "I feel like we're always walking on eggshells." Whereas what's really happening is that the communication pattern itself has actually become the problem. So here are three small changes that can break that cycle for you. And I believe it's good news because the cycle can be broken, changed, and it usually requires learning a new way of communication. Here are three simple shifts that can make a big difference. The first thing I do recommend is slow the conversation down. When emotions rise, your brain will move into a defense mode. In that state, people are no longer listening and they start protecting themselves. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do in an argument is to pause and say, "I want to understand what you're feeling. Help me understand that." That simple sentence can change the entire tone of the conversation. Secondly, focus on the feeling underneath the complaint. So instead of saying, "You never help around the house," which is a complaint, by the way, you can simply say, "I am feeling really overwhelmed lately and I could use some support." When people hear feelings instead of complaints and accusations, they are much more likely to respond with empathy. And number three, remember that it is not you versus your spouse. It's both of you versus the problem. And so healthy marriages are not about winning arguments. They are about protecting the marriage. All right. Sometimes couples try these changes and they still feel themselves feeling stuck. And that is very common because many couples wait years before seeking help because they think they should be able to fix it themselves. But relationships are complex. Communication patterns have developed over time, and sometimes you need a neutral space to really unpack that. Marriage counseling provides that space. It allows both partners to feel heard, to feel understood, and the deeper dynamics in the relationship can be unpacked so you learn the tools to communicate differently. Many couples tell me that once they understand the pattern they've been stuck in, they start to shift things surprisingly very quickly. And that is very beautiful. So if you're listening to this and recognizing your own relationship in what we've talked about, please know that change is possible. And you don't have to have the same argument for the same next 5 or 10 years. Sometimes a few guided conversations can help couples understand each other in a completely new way. So if you're in Ballarat or surrounding areas in Victoria, I provide marriage and couple counseling for partners who want to improve communication, build connection, and find a meaningful way forward. I do offer both in-person sessions in Ballarat and I secure video consultations that you can access wherever you are. If you'd like to learn more or book an appointment with me, you can visit my website or contact my practice directly. Thank you for listening in today. And remember, the goal in marriage is not to win the argument. The goal is to be protected and to protect the marriage. Do you want to stay married or do you want to win an argument? I'll leave you to answer that question. Until next episode, stay beautiful, stay confident.